10-year-old Lily Donovan sat cross-legged on the floor of her classroom, her small fingers gripping the crumpled flyer that had been handed to her by her teacher. The words seemed to leap off the page, twisting into something heavy in her chest. Police K-9 auction, all retired and retiring dogs up for bidding. Her stomach knotted as her eyes fell on the line that made her heart nearly stop. Lot 17, Rex Donovan. Rex, her father's K-9 partner, her family. The dog who had slept at the foot of their bed every night, who had sat patiently while her father explained how police work worked in gentle tones meant for a little girl, who had nuzzled her tears after her father didn't come home from that last dangerous call. Her teacher's voice faded into a blur. The sounds of the classroom, pencils scratching, kids whispering, chairs scraping, became distant. Lily could barely hear herself think over the roaring in her ears. Her father had been gone for 6 months now, fallen in the line of duty, a hero whose picture hung on the wall in the police station where she'd visited with her mother, and now they were selling Rex. Her eyes filled with tears, her chest felt like it was being squeezed by something icy and relentless. She could feel the little hairs on the back of her neck stand up. She didn't want to believe it. No, that's not possible, she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible. Her best friend Mia nudged her shoulder. What is it? You look like you've seen a ghost. Lily shook her head, trying to push the tears back, but they slipped anyway. It's Rex. They're selling him at an auction tomorrow. Mia blinked at her, selling like to someone else. Lily swallowed hard. Yes, to strangers, people with money, strangers who don't know him or Dad. Her mother, Mrs. Donovan, who had been standing quietly at the edge of the room for a parent-teacher discussion, stepped closer, her face drawn tight. Sweetie, it's complicated, she said softly, her voice trembling just enough to betray the storm of worry inside her. Sometimes things have to happen that we don't understand right away. But Lily couldn't understand. She stared at the flyer, tracing Rex's name with her finger, as if touching it could make the words disappear. Dad's gone, and now they're selling Rex. He's all I have left of him. Her mother knelt beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. I know, Pumpkin, I know. The classroom bell rang and other children scrambled to line up for lunch. Lily stayed seated for a moment longer, staring at the flyer. Her mind raced with questions. How much would someone pay for him? Would he be happy with someone else? Would he remember her? Would he forget her father? That night, Lily lay awake in her small bedroom, the moonlight casting silver stripes across the floor. She could hear the distant hum of her mother's soft sobs from the living room. The flyer lay on her bedside table, the words mocking her helplessness. She thought of Rex, imagining him in a stranger's yard, packing, confused, perhaps scared, her tiny fists clenched beneath the blanket. I'll get him back, she whispered to herself. I don't care what it takes, I'll get him back. But how? She was only 10. She had no money, no way of outbidding strangers with deep pockets. She had never even been to an auction. And yet that determination, the raw, fierce kind that sometimes rises only in children facing impossible odds, sparked in her chest like wildfire. Her mind began spinning with ideas, each more desperate than the last. Maybe she could ask the police station for help. Maybe she could hold a fundraiser. Maybe there was a way to make it happen without anyone realizing her age. Tears blurred her vision as she imagined Rex recognizing her the moment she stepped into the auction house, tail wagging, ears perked, eyes bright. She pictured holding him close, feeling the warmth of his fur, the steady rhythm of his heart beneath her cheek. And in that image, the impossible suddenly felt like it could be within reach. She swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper in the dark. I don't care what they say, Rex is mine. He's my family. He always will be. And as she drifted off to sleep, a storm of hope and fear twisted together inside her chest. Tomorrow, the auction would begin. Tomorrow, strangers would look at Rex the same way they looked at any other dog, a prize to win, a name to call their own. Could a little girl stand against the world for the dog who had been more than a partner, more than a pet, the dog who had been her father's shadow? Could she fight to bring back the last piece of him? The moonlight faded into the first gray streaks of dawn, and Lily Donovan, small but unyielding, made a silent vow she would keep with every beat of her heart. Rex belongs to me, and I will not let him go. The morning sun slanted through the kitchen blinds, painting stripes across the table where Lily Donovan sat, her elbows braced and her chin resting in her hands. Before her lay a small pile of coins, carefully counted and recounted, every penny, dime, and nickel she had ever saved from birthdays, lemonade stands, and chores. She stared at them, the weight of their insignificance heavy in her chest. Her mother, eyes tired and shadowed from months of grief, leaned against the counter, watching her. Lily, it's a lot of money for a kid. Do you really think it'll be enough? Lily's jaw tightened. It has to be. Her voice was small but resolute. It's not just money. He's the last piece of dad. Her best friend Mia plopped down on the chair opposite her, swinging her legs back and forth. "You're crazy," she said, though there was a quiver in her voice, a mix of awe and worry. "You're 10, you're going to an auction with rich people. They won't even notice you, or worse, they'll laugh." Lily didn't look up. "I don't care if they laugh, I have to try." She glanced at the flyer again, taped to the refrigerator. Lot 17, Rex Donovan. Seeing his name written in bold letters made her stomach twist. "I can't let someone else take him. They don't understand, they don't know what he means, they don't know Dad." Her mother sighed and pulled a chair closer. "You're right, I think I might know a way, but it's risky." Her voice dropped almost to a whisper. "We might have to bend some rules. I don't know if we can do it without everyone noticing, but if we don't try, Rex might be gone forever." Lily's eyes widened. "What do you mean, bend the rules?" Her mother leaned back, running her fingers through her hair. "There are people at the station who knew your dad, officers who owe him a lot. Maybe they can help us place a bid without letting anyone know it's you, but it has to be a secret. The last thing your father would want is for this to become some spectacle." Lily nodded, feeling a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. Her small hands clenched into fists. "Then we do it, whatever it takes." For the rest of the day, the two of them plotted. They went over every detail: how Lily would dress small, inconspicuous, in baggy clothes that hid her frame, how her mother would signal her when to act, how to hide the small pile of coins in her pocket, and how to approach the auctioneer without being dismissed outright. Each plan seemed more impossible than the last, but Lily's determination only hardened. By evening they had a rough outline. Lily would act as if she were a simple observer, a child curious about the dogs, while her mother handled the actual negotiations with assistance from officers who had known her father. Every step carried a risk. If anyone discovered the real reason she was there, they could outbid her, refuse her participation, or worse, laugh at her audacity. But Lily couldn't let fear win. That night, Lily lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The moonlight spilled across her room, illuminating her father's old police cap on the shelf, the picture of him in uniform smiling down at her. She hugged her knees, imagining Rex curled at her side. She could almost feel his warmth, the steady heartbeat that had always comforted her when nightmares came. "I can do this," she whispered into the dark. "I have to." But doubt crept in like a shadow. Could a little girl really outbid a room full of strangers, adults who had no love for her father or the dog he had trained? Could she even reach the auction table without being stopped? And if she failed, if Rex was taken by someone who didn't care, who would ever understand the bond they shared? Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. "We might have to bend some rules, but if we don't try, Rex might be gone forever." Lily turned over, clutching her blanket. She imagined the auction room, polished floors, bright lights, rows of strangers in suits, all focused on the dogs laid out like prizes. She could hear the echo of the gavel, the low murmur of bids rising higher and higher, and in the center of it all, Rex, his eyes scanning for the familiar presence he trusted most. Her heart ached at the thought of him being pawed over by strangers. She could see the furrowed brows of men calculating how much to offer, hearing their laughter, imagining him leaning into their hands, confused, longing for the touch that mattered most, hers and her father's memory. Tears stung her eyes. "I'll get him back, Dad," she whispered, pressing her hand to the picture on her nightstand. "I promise." Somewhere deep inside, a small, fierce flame of hope burned. It whispered that love, memory, and determination could outweigh money, stature, and adult skepticism. That tomorrow, even in a room full of strangers and impossible odds, Lily Donovan could stand tall for the one friend who had never let her down, the one family she still had left, Rex. Outside, the wind rattled the windows. Inside, Lily Donovan closed her eyes, imagining the sound of the gavel striking the podium, the excited bark of Rex as he recognized her, and the tearful, victorious hug she would give him. Tomorrow nothing would be the same. Tomorrow the fight for Rex would begin, and Lily was ready to face it, no matter the cost. The morning air was crisp as Lily Donovan and her mother drove through the quiet streets toward the auction house. Lily's fingers were white from gripping the flyer over and over, tracing Rex's name as if it could give her courage. Every honk, every passing car made her jump, her nerves fraying like thin threads. "I'm ready, Mom," she whispered, though her voice shook. Her mother gave her hand a gentle squeeze. "You've got this, Lily. Just stay close to me and remember the plan. Breathe." The auction house loomed ahead, an imposing brick building with polished doors and a crowd gathering outside. The scent of fresh coffee and polished wood wafted out every time someone entered. Inside, the room was buzzing: businessmen in tailored suits, collectors in designer jackets, uniformed officers, and curious spectators. They all eyed the rows of retired police K9s lined neatly on the stage, leashes coiled, tails wagging, ears perked, each dog a veteran in its own right. Lily froze the moment she saw him. Rex. He sat proudly on a black platform, his golden brown coat shining under the bright auction lights. His ears twitched as his head turned slowly, scanning the room. Then his eyes locked onto hers. The connection was instantaneous. He lifted his paw slightly, a silent recognition that sent a shiver down Lily's spine. Her throat tightened, she swallowed, forcing her legs to move inch by inch through the crowd. Every step was a battle against her fear. She felt like everyone in the room could sense the storm of determination and grief radiating off her tiny frame. The auctioneer, a tall man with a booming voice, stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Our first lot, retired K9 Rex Donovan. Let's begin the bidding." He raised the gavel, and the room instantly erupted with murmurs and low chatter. Lily's heartbeat pounded in her ears. She clutched her mother's hand, hiding behind her as the first bids went up. $100, $200, $500. Lily's eyes widened. She only had a few dollars in coins, not nearly enough to compete with these people. "Don't panic," her mother whispered. She bent down to Lily and pressed a folded slip of paper into her hand. "This is the number we agreed on. You'll see, it might just be enough. Just raise your hand when the time is right." Lily nodded, though her hands shook violently. She had never been to an auction. The idea of raising her hand in front of dozens of strangers, of making them notice her, terrified her. She took a deep breath and tried to steady her voice and her resolve. The auctioneer called for the next bid, $1,000, then $1,500. The numbers spun in Lily's mind like a storm. Every increment was a blow to her hope. She could feel Rex's eyes on her, patient, trusting, waiting, and with every second, the thought of losing him to strangers gnawed at her chest. Suddenly, a man in the back of the room, tall, dark suit, expensive watch glinting, raised his hand. 2,000, he called. His voice was smooth, confident, and terrifying. The room murmured in agreement. Lily felt her stomach drop. $2,000, how could she compete with that? Her mother's grip tightened on her hand. "Now," she whispered, "remember." With a trembling arm, Lily raised her hand. Her small fingers barely reached the top of the auctioneer's podium. I bid," she stammered, voice barely audible. A hush fell over the room, heads turned, eyes widened. The murmurs became a ripple of laughter and disbelief. "Is that a kid?" someone muttered. The auctioneer squinted, raising an eyebrow. "Young lady, are you sure?" Lily's eyes met Rex. He wagged his tail just slightly, and in that moment she felt strength she didn't know she had. I want Rex," she said, voice small but unwavering. A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. The man in the back leaned down, muttering to someone, probably questioning if a child could be taken seriously in such a high-stakes room. The bids continued, higher, higher. Each one threatened to snatch Rex away from her. Her mother whispered again, "Stay calm, watch him, don't cry." Lily's gaze never left Rex. His eyes were steady, loyal, almost pleading. She imagined the life they had shared, the walks in the park, the quiet nights when she had buried her face in his fur. She imagined her father, standing tall in uniform, pride etched on his face, and knew she couldn't let this moment slip. The gavel hovered above the auctioneer's hand. Every heartbeat in the room seemed to slow, every eye locked on the tiny girl raising her hand. The tension was thick enough to taste. Could a 10-year-old really outbid a room full of strangers for a dog trained to serve and protect? Could she convince them that this wasn't just a bid, it was love, memory, and a promise? And just as the auctioneer opened his mouth to call the next bid, Lily felt a flicker of hope. Someone in the back stood, silently, watching. She couldn't see their face clearly, but there was something familiar in the stance, in the authority, in the quiet weight of presence. Her heart skipped a beat. Someone might help, someone who understands what Rex really meant, what her father meant. The gavel was raised, the room held its breath, and Lily Donovan, trembling but unyielding, prepared to stake everything on the chance to bring Rex home. The room fell silent as Lily Donovan raised her tiny hand, her fingers trembling, clutching the folded slip of paper her mother had given her. She could feel every eye on her, the weight of dozens of strangers pressing down, judging, wondering how a child could even dare to be in this place. The auctioneer's gaze shifted from the first bidder, then to her, his eyebrows raised. "Young lady," he said, his tone a mix of curiosity and incredulity, "are you sure you want a bid?" Lily swallowed hard, trying to steady the tremor in her voice. I want Rex." A ripple ran through the room. Murmurs erupted, some incredulous, some mocking. A tall man in a dark suit whispered to his companion, shaking his head. A woman near the front scoffed, "This is ridiculous, a child." But Lily didn't flinch, her eyes locked on Rex, sitting a few feet away, his ears perked, tail wagging ever so slightly. She could almost feel his heartbeat through the distance, steady and trusting. He recognized her, he knew her, and in that moment the room's judgment didn't matter. The first real bid went up $1,000. The wealthy man in the back raised his hand confidently. 2,000, then 2,500. The numbers blurred in Lily's mind, each one a mountain she couldn't climb. She could feel her chest tightening, panic clawing at her throat. She barely had coins, not even close to competing with this. Her mother leaned down, voice soft but firm. "Lily, it's time, remember the plan." She nodded toward a quiet figure at the back, Sergeant Harris, one of her father's oldest partners. Lily's pulse quickened. He gave her the smallest of nods, almost imperceptible, but it was enough. She wasn't alone. Taking a deep breath, Lily held the slip of paper higher, and with all the courage her 10-year-old body could muster, she called out, 3,000. The room froze, the murmurs became louder, disbelief turning into whispers that buzzed like electricity. Heads turned, people leaning forward in shock. The auctioneer paused, gavel midair. 3,000, he repeated, scanning the room. "Young lady, are you serious?" "I'm serious," Lily said, her voice small but unwavering enough to cut through the chaos. She swallowed her fear and imagined her father's face, the proud smile he had always worn when she had done something brave, even when it was scary. The man in the dark suit snorted. "Are we really going to let a child win this?" he muttered to someone beside him. A few others chuckled, but then Sergeant Harris stepped forward, his presence commanding silence. "I think we all know who should take this dog home," he said, his deep voice steady, echoing through the room. "Rex belongs with the Donovan family." The laughter faltered, the crowd shifted uneasily, whispering, exchanging glances. This was no longer just an auction, this was a statement, respect, loyalty, memory. The auctioneer cleared his throat, trying to regain control. Do we have any higher bids?" His eyes scanned the room, lingering on Lily. "Or shall we call it for the Donovan family?" A wealthy-looking man at the back frowned, adjusting his tie. He opened his mouth, about to bid again, but Sergeant Harris's gaze pinned him like steel. Something in that look, the weight of years and authority, froze him. He hesitated, then withdrew his hand. Lily's heart raced. She could hardly believe what was happening. She had raised her hand in a room full of adults, her small voice cutting through doubt and greed, and now she could actually win. Her eyes darted to Rex, his ears twitched. He leaned slightly forward as if he understood, he knew, he trusted her. She could feel the bond between them, unbroken by months of separation, unshaken by strangers' hands. She pressed her lips together to hold back tears, but a lump in her throat betrayed her. The auctioneer raised the gavel. "Final call, $3,000 for lot 17, retired K9 Rex Donovan, any higher?" The room was silent, waiting, tension vibrating like a live wire in the air. All eyes on a little girl with a folded slip of paper, hands shaking, heart pounding. Every second stretched, a lifetime, as Lily stared at the dog who had been her father's partner, her protector, her friend. Then the gavel came down with a sharp crack. Sold to the Donovan family. For a heartbeat the room was still, then a cheer, mixed with murmurs of disbelief, rippled through the crowd. Lily ran forward before anyone could stop her, and Rex leapt toward her, tail wagging wildly. She threw her arms around his neck, burying her face in his fur. Tears streamed down her cheeks, hot and sudden, as she whispered, "I got you, Rex, I got you." Her mother hugged her from behind, relief flooding her face. Sergeant Harris gave her a small nod, pride in his eyes, but even as joy and relief swirled through her, a cold whisper brushed against the back of Lily's mind. Someone out there didn't want this to happen, and they weren't finished yet, even as Lily Donovan clutched Rex tightly, feeling the steady warmth of his fur and the reassuring thump of his tail. She couldn't shake the unease that had crept in during the auction. The room still hummed with whispers and murmurs. Some people had clearly not expected a child to win, some looked angry, some even confused, and Lily, though overjoyed, knew the battle wasn't entirely over. Her mother knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Sweetie, stay close to me," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "We're almost home, but we have to be careful." Lily tilted her head. "Careful, why?" Her mother hesitated. Some people, they don't like losing, especially to a little girl. And some of those bidders were, well, let's just say they're used to getting what they want. We need to make sure Rex stays safe until we get home. Rex, sensing the tension in the room, nuzzled his head against Lily's chest. She hugged him tighter, drawing courage from his steady presence. She could feel his loyalty, his understanding. He had waited for her, and now more than ever, she knew she had to protect him. As they left the auction house, Lily noticed a man in a dark coat lingering by the entrance. His eyes followed them, sharp and calculating. He didn't approach, but the sense of being watched prickled the back of her neck. "Mom, that guy," she whispered, tugging at her mother's sleeve. "He's staring at us." Her mother's lips pressed into a thin line. "I see him," she said quietly. "Don't worry, we'll be fine, keep moving." They walked briskly to the car, Rex's leash in Lily's hand, her small fingers wrapped tightly around the leather strap. She could feel the tension building inside her chest, like a storm ready to break. The auction had been won, but she knew some battles required more than courage, they required strategy. Once home, Lily set Rex down gently in the living room, running her hands over his coat. "You're safe now," she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. "No one can take you away." But the sense of unease didn't leave her. She scanned the room, half expecting someone to appear at the window, someone to claim that Rex was theirs. She imagined scenarios, strangers trying to lure him away, phone calls from angry bidders, even threats left at the door. The thought made her stomach twist. Her mother, sensing her fear, sat beside her. "Lily, I know you're scared, but you did something incredible today. You stood up for what was right. You brought Rex home." "I know, but what if someone comes back for him?" Lily whispered, pressing her forehead against Rex's warm body. Her mother sighed, pulling out her phone. She dialed a number she hadn't used in months. "Sergeant Harris," she said when the line connected. "We might need a little extra help just to make sure everything stays safe tonight." Across town, Sergeant Harris straightened in his office, listening. "I'll be there in 10 minutes, he replied. "Don't worry, Lily's got the heart of her father, but we'll make sure no one interrupts it." By the time he arrived, dusk had fallen and shadows stretched across the Donovan house. He greeted Lily with a small smile, a reassuring presence. Rex immediately recognized him, wagging his tail and nuzzling the older officer. Lily felt a flicker of relief. At least someone who knew her father understood the bond between her and Rex. But Sergeant Harris's face was serious. "Lily," he said, kneeling to meet her eyes, "you did something incredible today, but there are people out there who might not like how things turned out. We need to be careful for the next few days. Keep Rex close, don't let anyone in who you don't know, and stay alert." Lily nodded, determination replacing fear. "I won't let anyone take him, I promise." Later that evening, as the house grew quiet and the lights dimmed, Lily sat beside Rex, stroking his ears. The day had been a whirlwind: fear, hope, courage, triumph, and now the adrenaline was fading, leaving a hollow ache of exhaustion and lingering worry. Then from outside the window she saw a shadow move across the lawn. Her heart stopped. She held her breath, pressing closer to Rex, eyes wide. The wind rustled the trees, and for a long moment she couldn't tell if it was just a stray animal, a trick of the shadows, or someone watching, waiting. Lily's mind raced. The auction might have ended, but the fight to keep Rex was just beginning. And she realized that protecting him would take everything she had: her courage, her cleverness, and the bond she shared with a dog who had been more than a partner to her father. She hugged Rex tight, whispering, "We're going to be okay. I'll protect you no matter what." Outside, the shadows shifted again, silent and deliberate, a reminder that even victories could be fragile. The battle for Rex wasn't over. It was only the beginning. The Donovan house was quiet now, the golden light of dusk fading into deep shadows. Lily sat on the living room floor, Rex curled against her side, his warmth a small anchor in the storm of her thoughts. Outside, the night whispered through the trees, and she couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were watching them. Every creak of the house, every distant car made her heart leap. Her mother sat beside her, rubbing her back, trying to calm her jittering nerves. "Lily, you did the right thing today. You brought Rex home. That's what matters." Lily leaned her head against Rex's fur. "I know, but what if someone comes for him?" Her voice was small, a whisper of fear she couldn't contain. "What if they don't care about Dad or me or Rex?" Before her mother could respond, the front door opened softly. The sound was so subtle it could have been missed entirely, but Lily's senses were heightened. She stiffened, pressing herself against Rex, her small hand gripping his fur. "Who's there?" her mother called, her voice steady but cautious. A familiar voice answered, deep and calm. "It's Sergeant Harris." Lily's heart skipped. Sergeant Harris, one of her father's oldest partners, stepped into the room, his uniform replaced with plain clothes, but his presence carried the same authority and warmth she remembered from visits to the station. In his eyes was the knowledge of her father, and the understanding that Rex was more than just a police dog, he was family. "I thought I'd make sure everything's safe tonight," he said, his gaze sweeping over the room. He knelt to Lily's level, and Rex immediately nudged forward, tail wagging. Harris scratched behind Rex's ears, and the dog leaned into him. "You're safe now, Lily," he said gently, but there was a firmness in his tone that told her he wasn't just comforting her, he was guarding her. Lily hugged Rex tighter. "Thank you," she whispered. "I didn't think anyone would help." Sergeant Harris shook his head. "You've already done the hard part, kid. You showed courage today that most adults couldn't even dream of, but I know there are people who aren't happy about how things turned out. That's why I'm here." Her mother joined them, relief and exhaustion mingling on her face. I was worried. After today, I didn't know what to do if anyone tried to take him. Harris's expression softened. That's why we have to be smart. There's a network in the department, people who knew your dad, who respected him. We can keep an eye on things for the next few days. No one's getting Rex without a fight. Lily's eyes lit up with a flicker of hope. So, he's really safe. Harris nodded, though his jaw tightened slightly. For now, but the auction wasn't just about money. Some of those bidders, they play games. They don't understand love or loyalty. They only see numbers, and a few of them won't stop just because a kid won. The word sent a chill through Lily, but she pushed it down, drawing courage from Rex's steady presence. She had faced impossible odds today, a room full of adults, a crowd that didn't believe a child could claim what was hers, and now she had a secret ally who understood the stakes. Rex shifted, resting his head on her lap, and she stroked his fur slowly, feeling the tension leave his body, or at least sharing it. Harris leaned back, eyes scanning the room one last time. I've got your back, Lily. Just remember, this is more than a dog. It's a piece of your dad, and that makes it worth protecting. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees again, and Lily realized the truth in his words. Rex wasn't just a dog. He was her father's partner, her connection to the man she had lost, and a guardian who had always been loyal. She had brought him home, but home meant more than four walls. It meant safety, trust, and vigilance. Suddenly, Harris's phone buzzed. He glanced down, then back up, his expression serious. There's someone asking questions about the auction, someone persistent. We need to stay alert tomorrow. Lily's stomach nodded, but she straightened. Then we'll be ready. Harris smiled faintly. That's the spirit. Courage doesn't mean not being scared, it means acting even when you are. That night, Lily sat on her bed with Rex curled at her feet, Sergeant Harris's presence a quiet reassurance in the house. She traced her father's badge on the shelf, imagining the man it had belonged to, the hero who had taught her about bravery in quiet moments. And she understood fully that the fight for Rex was about more than winning a dog at an auction. It was about holding on to the last piece of her father, about loyalty, courage, and refusing to let fear win. Outside, shadows moved again, silent and deliberate. But inside, Lily Donovan, small but unyielding, felt a spark of determination ignite. With Rex at her side and an ally who understood, she knew she could face whatever was coming. The battle wasn't over, but for the first time since the auction, she felt ready. The morning sun streamed weakly through the Donovan house, casting long shadows across the living room where Lily Donovan sat with Rex at her side. The dog's ears twitched at every small sound, tail flicking nervously. Even after the chaos of the auction, the unease from the night before had not fully lifted. Lily could feel it, the sense that some of those strangers from the auction still hadn't given up, that their desire to claim Rex had not faded. Her mother stood at the window, peering out through the blinds, her expression tight. Lily, remember, we can't let anyone in without knowing who they are. Not today, not ever until we're certain. Lily nodded, gripping Rex's leash tightly. Her small body was tense with anticipation. She could hear the distant hum of traffic and the occasional chirp of birds, but every noise seemed magnified, every shadow suspicious. She had won the auction, but winning had never felt so fragile. Then the phone rang. Her mother answered quickly, her face tightening as she listened. Lily strained to hear, catching only fragments, questions about the dog, persistent, auction Donovan. Her mother hung up slowly, turning to Lily. It's Sergeant Harris. He says some of those bidders, they're still asking questions. They haven't forgotten. Lily's stomach nodded. She knew this day could be more dangerous than the auction itself. She looked down at Rex, whose brown eyes seemed to sense her fear. He nudged her hand gently, grounding her, reminding her that they had fought this far together. A knock at the door made them both start. Her mother's hand went to the lock, but she didn't open it immediately. Who is it? She called. Sergeant Harris, a calm voice replied. Open up. Relief flooded the room. Harris stepped inside, his eyes scanning the surroundings like a protective sentinel. I'm here, he said, kneeling to Rex's level. The dog wagged his tail furiously, brushing against Harris. Lily felt a surge of gratitude. The officer was their shield, their ally in this battle that had only just begun. But before they could breathe fully, a shadow shifted outside the window. Harris's gaze snapped to the movement. He stood, positioning himself between the door and the stairs. Stay behind me, he instructed, his voice low but firm. Lily hugged Rex tighter, her heart hammering. She could see it now, someone had followed them. A tall figure in a dark coat moved deliberately, trying to remain unseen, yet Harris had caught him. The stranger paused, and Lily felt her stomach twist. She had imagined confrontations, but the reality was sharper, colder, and far more frightening than anything in her imagination. The doorbell rang, hard, insistent. Harris didn't move immediately. He signaled for Lily and her mother to step back. The stranger outside called out, smooth and confident, "I know you have him. I want him back. The dog, I have every right." Lily's breath caught, her mother's face paled, but Harris's eyes narrowed, unwavering. "This dog isn't for sale," he said, his voice like steel. "Rex belongs to the Donovan family. You heard the auction results. That's final." The man outside shifted, frustration evident, his hands balling into fists. "I'll see you in court if I have to," he barked, but Harris didn't flinch. "Try all you want, but you'll need more than threats to take what's not yours." Lily watched, her hands still clutching Rex's leash, the adrenaline rushing through her veins. The moment felt suspended in time, the tension sharp as a knife. And then, without another word, the man retreated, disappearing into the shadows of the street. Lily exhaled shakily, leaning into Rex. "We did it," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "We really did it." Harris crouched down, his eyes softening as he looked at her. "You were incredible today, Lily. That courage, that determination, it's exactly what your father had, and he would be proud." Rex licked her cheek, sensing the joy, the relief, the overwhelming mix of emotions that only a 10-year-old girl could carry. Lily hugged him tightly, feeling the steady beat of his heart against hers. For a moment the danger seemed distant, the shadows faded, and the room was filled with a quiet, victorious warmth. But even in that moment of triumph, a tiny whisper of unease lingered at the edges of her mind. She knew the auction, the threats, and the people who hadn't given up were only part of the story. There were still mysteries tied to her father, secrets that Rex had been part of, and a life of service that might be far more complicated than she understood. Her mother stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We'll get through this," she said, "together, you, me, and Rex." Lily nodded, pressing her cheek against Rex's soft fur. "Together," she echoed, and in that moment she understood something deeper than any auction or threat could teach her. Courage wasn't the absence of fear. Courage was facing fear, standing tall, and protecting the ones you love, no matter what. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees again, carrying the promise of safety, at least for now. Inside, Lily Donovan, her father's legacy, and her loyal partner, Rex, had won their battle, but she knew, deep down, that life had more challenges ahead. And Lily Donovan was ready to face every one of them. The Donovan house was finally quiet. Outside, the evening had settled into a peaceful darkness, the last streaks of sunset fading behind the trees. Inside, Lily Donovan sat on the couch with Rex curled up at her feet, breathing steady and calm. For the first time since the auction, a sense of relief began to wash over her. He was home, he was hers, and for now, the world was right again. Her mother moved quietly through the kitchen, stacking dishes from lunch and evening snacks. She glanced over her shoulder at Lily and Rex, a soft smile tugging at her tired face. "He's settled in," she said gently. "You did all this, Lily. You brought him home." Lily stroked Rex's head, feeling the warmth and strength beneath her fingers. "I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered to him, her voice trembling. "We did it, we really did it." Rex nuzzled her hand as if to confirm it. His eyes were soft but attentive, almost as if he understood that the battle wasn't completely over. That night, after her mother tucked her into bed, Lily lay awake, her mind racing with thoughts of the day's chaos, the auction, the suspense, the fear, and the triumph. She could still feel the tension in the auction house, the whispers of strangers who hadn't wanted her to win. But now, with Rex by her side and Sergeant Harris watching over them, the immediate danger seemed to fade into the shadows. Then as she shifted in bed, she noticed something unusual. Rex stirred, pawing at the collar he always wore. Lily reached down and felt something tucked under it, a small, folded note. She froze, her heart skipped a beat. She had checked his collar before the auction, but this was new. Hands trembling, she opened it. The handwriting was familiar, almost impossibly so, careful, deliberate, unmistakably her father's. "Keep him safe, he's more than a dog, he's the key." Lily's breath caught, she read it over and over, the words etched into her mind. The key, what could her father have meant, and why had he left this message in Rex's collar, knowing that someday she would find it? Her mind swirled with questions. Was it a clue to something her father had been protecting? Something tied to his work, something he hadn't had time to explain? Could Rex have been carrying it all along, a silent guardian of a secret she was only now beginning to understand? She pressed her forehead to Rex's soft fur, feeling the steady rise and fall of his chest. The bond between them had always been special, but now it carried weight beyond friendship. He wasn't just a companion, he was a protector, a link to her father, a key to something she had yet to discover. Lily sat up, her resolve hardening. She couldn't wait, she had to find out what her father had meant. She had already faced impossible odds to bring Rex home. She had already proven that courage, love, and determination could overcome fear and greed. Now she had to be smart, vigilant, and patient to unravel the next piece of the mystery her father had left behind. Her mother, sensing her daughter's unrest, came in quietly. "Lily, what's wrong?" Lily held up the note, her eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear. "It's from Dad in Rex's collar. He said Rex is the key." Her mother took a deep breath, kneeling beside her. "I don't know exactly what he meant," she admitted softly, "but whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. You and Rex, you've already shown how strong you can be." Lily nodded, hugging Rex tighter. "I will protect him no matter what, and I'll find out what Dad meant." Rex licked her cheek as if understanding, as if promising that he would stay by her side through whatever came next. The fire of determination ignited inside Lily again, stronger, fiercer, and steadier than ever. She knew now that her journey had only begun. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees, carrying a sense of quiet mystery. The shadows in the yard seemed to stretch, hinting that the world was full of secrets, dangers, and unanswered questions. But inside the Donovan house, Lily felt a spark of courage she had never known before. She whispered into the dark, "We're ready, Rex. Whatever it is, we'll face it together." And in the corner of the room, Rex's ears twitched, his eyes bright and alert. The note was a mystery, the auction was behind them, but the adventure was just beginning. The dog was home, the girl was ready, and the secret her father had left behind was waiting.